So now that the 6.0 nod-krai update is on the horizon, I thought I would do an updated account tour for my main Genshin account and also talk about my future pulling plans for nod-krai. It's been almost 6 months since my first account tour, but there have been a number of changes since then, including many new characters as well as reaching AR 60. This will be a very chill and yappy video, so make sure to grab a snack or a drink while you watch, or maybe you can leave it on in the background while you play a game or do some chores. And if you enjoy cozy Genshin videos like this one, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe because I'll be posting lots of nod-krai content in the new version. Also, don't forget to join our brand new Cozy in the Garden Discord server where you can connect with other cozy gamers. Alright, so with that out of the way, let's get started with the account tour. First off, I did reach AR 60 on June 7th, 2025, which means it took me just under 2 years to reach this insane milestone. I had exactly 600 active days logged on HoYoLab on the day that I reached AR 60. So take that as you will, but I am very proud to have finally reached this level. I do want to say that because I did my last account tour only about 6 months ago, I'm not going to go through like every single thing on my account like I did in the last one, but I'll just try to share like the brand new updates as well as any changes in my thoughts or whatever. So let's start with the character archive just to see the kind of overall view of all the characters that I have. My most recent new character was Inefa here. So as you can see, I do have Inefa, Skirk, Dahlia, Escoffier. I don't know if I had Aoife in the previous account tour video, but he is here. These are all of my new characters. Veressa is also quote-unquote new since my last account tour. Yeah, Emily was also a newer pickup, as well as Chiori. I don't know if I'm like missing a few, but you get the gist. And then I also did build or rebuild some of my older units as well, so I'll try to kind of walk through those in my character showcase. As for the characters that I don't have, such as Mualani, Siegewein, Kanich, etc., as for now, I don't necessarily think I'll be pulling for them. There are a couple here that I do want to get, but I'm not like, you know, like itching to get them. Like I'm not gonna drop everything to get them. Okay, so I'm actually gonna get started first with my teams setup because I feel like this will kind of show you an overview of some of the characters that I've been using more often. And just as a disclaimer, my team setups here are mostly for like overworld usage. I don't typically use these teams in the Spiral Abyss or the Stygian Onslaught because in those modes I always just like select the characters, you know, from the list. I do just want to walk through this really quickly. So my first team here isn't necessarily a team that I use, but I just call them the Europeans. Yeah, I just always leave this as my first team just because I do really love these characters. If you guys know, I am a Furina main since she is C6, and I also am an Arlecchino main and she is C2, but I will walk through those a little bit later. And then next up we have my friendship team, so I just use this team to collect commissions and talk to Catherine and stuff. Next up is my exploration team. So this is usually the team that I use for exploration. I will pretty much always have Furina, Mavuika, and Chaska on the team. Shilonen I might switch around for like a character who might show the regional specialties on the map, or like whatever other character I might need, just because Mavuika and Chaska can kind of do what Shilonen does, climbing up the walls. So Shilonen, you know, might be switched around here sometimes. And what I really love about this team also is that Mavuika is a claymore, so she can take care of like crystals and rocks and stuff. And then Chaska is a bow, so she can take care of those bow puzzles. Next up is just a pretty basic Mavuika melt team with Shilonen, Bennett, and Sitlali. And then we also have an Arlecchino variation of that team. I don't always use Furina here with Arlecchino. Like I said, I don't necessarily like click on these presets super frequently. Next up, we just have a very typical Hyper Bloom team, although it has been a while since I last used this team, I will say. And then we've got a Crystal Fly collection team. Again, I don't really use this team very much anymore since I usually use the Crystal Fly trap, or I go to that underwater location in Fontaine to get crystal flies. These two teams are just like domain teams, so I'll just change these to kind of a random collection of characters who I need friendship for to collect from the domains when I use my resin. This team I've been using a lot recently just because I'm really trying to get some friendship points for Emily. It's just like a Chaska burning team with Emily. It's surprisingly kind of fun. And then next up we have a Mizuki team. Mizuki is one of my favorite characters and probably my favorite standard character in the game. So I've been trying to find like any and every excuse to use Mizuki. Right now I'm finding that a really fun team to use is Electro Charge or Lunar Charge with Inefa and Furina. Yaimiko can be a little interchangeable here, like I can use Auroron if I want a little bit more of an Electro Charge focus, but you know, Yaimiko just definitely matches the aesthetic here. Next up we have a pretty basic Skirk team. And by basic I mean like premium basic, you know, because I do have Escoffier, I do have Furina and Yelan of course. I am using the Skirk team pretty frequently in endgame mode since a lot of them have been requiring Skirk or freeze in general. And then my final team here is just like a standing by team, so I always just change these characters randomly depending on whatever I might need at that very moment. So those are my teams, and then next up I think we'll do a deeper dive into my characters and their builds, especially my newer characters who I maybe made like a standalone video for, but I'll just kind of walk through their builds one more time here for the account tour. And then if you are interested in seeing the builds for all the characters that I don't show in this video, feel free to watch my very first account tour. I don't believe that I made any major changes. I don't really want to like repeat myself and talk about them again here, but I'll try to cover the characters that I do want to cover or are more relevant in my recent usage. So yeah, we'll go from there. So first of all, I think I will talk about Inefa, who was my most recent brand new character. She wasn't my most recent pull, but she was my most recent new unit. I've been actually really enjoying using Inefa. First of all, I think the Lunar Charge is like really satisfying. I like how it looks, like the font. And then that plus she is sort of my first Electro Charge character. I've never really had an Electro Charge team before, so I'm really glad to have Inefa here to be that Lunar Charge, Electro Charge driver. So unfortunately she is only level 80. I decided to just leave her there just in an effort to save some resources because it's so expensive to get characters to level 90. So for her weapon, I'm just using the Ballad of the Fjords, which is the battle pass weapon. It is R2 and I'll probably get a couple more copies of this. So far I haven't really had any issues with using this weapon. Like I don't feel that she's weak whatsoever. I don't think I'll be getting her signature weapon. I just don't really feel like I need it. I'm quite satisfied with this battle pass weapon for now. And then for her artifacts, I am just on a two-piece attack and EM. I don't know if I'm gonna change these in nod-krai when the brand new version comes out. Or not new version, I mean when the brand new artifact sets come out. I'll just kind of show you my stats here. But yeah, I'm not sure if I'm gonna change the artifact set. I don't know if that change is going to benefit all of my Inefa teams or if it's only really meant for nod-krai focused Inefa teams like Flynn's. So we'll see about changing her artifacts or not in the future, but so far I feel like her build right now is pretty decent. And she is C0, and then her talents are 1, 8, 6, and then here are her overall stats. I don't think I really changed her build since I initially built her. If I did, it was pretty minor, but with this build and with these stats, my Inefa has been performing very well. I'm really happy with her. Next up, I'll talk about Chaska, who was my most recent pull. So if you guys watched that video, you might know that I did end up pulling for some Chaska constellations. Quick little update, I also did end up pulling for her R1, even though I initially said that I wasn't going to. I got tempted and I did end up winning the 50-50 on the weapon banner. Honestly, it is such a huge boost to her damage. I think if you're looking for raw damage in your Chaska, definitely her signature weapon is going to make a big upgrade. However, if you are looking more for utility, such as I was, then her constellations are kind of where it's at. Artifact set, I do have her on the 4-piece obsidian codex. Like this, I believe I kind of walked through this in my previous video as well. And then like I said, I do have her C2. I was just really tempted by the pure utility of those constellations and I am super duper happy with it. I've been using Chaska so much in the last couple of weeks since I got her constellations. Chaska has quickly become one of my favorite characters on my account. She is just so much fun to play, especially with the extra utility and flexibility I'm getting from her constellations. But even with just her C0, I think Chaska is an amazing pull. If you are thinking about it, I do highly recommend her. Although, you know, I don't know how the new nod-krai units might change her value. Me personally, I think I'll be using Chaska a lot on my account for the foreseeable future. And so for her talents, I do have her skill crowned and then her burst is just at level 8. And here are her overall stats. Since the obsidian codex artifact set gives her 40% crit rate bonus, she does have like a 95 to 251 crit ratio, which I think is pretty good. Alright, so next I'll just kind of go in order here of my newer units. We have Skirk here. I've been using her a lot in endgame modes, although I do find her a little bit annoying to use in like the overworld or even in domains just because of her freeze team restrictions. I don't have her signature weapon, but I have the Mist Splitter Reforged, which I pulled on the Inazuma Chronicled banner, and thankfully it does look pretty good on Skirk, although I guess the only thing that doesn't match is like the Electro symbol, but at least the purple looks good on her. And then for her artifact set, I do have her on the Marashose Hunter because I am using her 100% of the time with Furina, and I am a little bit too lazy to farm for her Finale of the Deep. Is it Finale of the Deep Galleries? Anyway, I'm a bit lazy to farm for that one, and for the few times I did farm for it, unfortunately I didn't get a lot of good stats or rolls there, so I'm just keeping her on the Marashose. And then she is C0. And her talents are 188, although I am realizing with how much I'm using her, I could probably afford to upgrade her talents just a little bit. And then here are her stats. With the 36% crit rate bonus from the Marashose, she essentially gets like a 91 crit rate to 237 crit damage ratio, which is like alright. I think it is a pretty good build. It's definitely not a min-maxed build, but I am very happy with it overall. One thing I will say though is, as much as I do love Skirk and don't regret pulling her, I don't particularly love her playstyle. Like, I feel like I have so many of those normal attack characters, and by so many I guess I mean Arlecchino, maybe Raiden are kind of the main ones that I'm talking about. And I guess with Skirk added to the mix, it feels like a little bit repetitive, like the normal attack spamming, but you know, she's really strong and she is satisfying to play, so no regrets whatsoever. Next up we have Escoffier, who I am really happy that I pulled. I know that a number of people did skip Escoffier. Even outside of Skirk freeze teams, I find Escoffier to still be really strong. I think that her off-field skill damage is really strong. I've even been using her in like melt teams for her cryo application, so I am really happy with Escoffier. And I do have her signature weapon as well because it just looks so cute on her. I couldn't resist. And then her artifacts, I do have her on the Golden Troop. I'm not sure how much of this I've like upgraded since I initially built her, but I think her build is pretty decent overall. She is C0 and I don't plan on getting any constellations in the future, and her talents are 186, so I do need to level up the burst a little bit, I feel like, or maybe one more to the skill, just because she is pretty strong even outside of freeze teams. Here are her overall stats. Crit ratio of 83 to 195. I will say that I feel like her ER at 106 is a little bit lacking because I can't seem to have her burst up very frequently if at all. So that is sort of my only gripe with my Escoffier build, but other than that, you know, super duper happy with her. Next up, we've got Veressa. I actually really like Veressa's playstyle, so I don't typically love plunge attack characters or plunge attack playstyles, but for some reason Veressa's is just really satisfying to play. And this is not her weapon. I do usually have her on the Widsith, which, you know, I'm not a really big fan of the Widsith just because I hate the RNG aspect of it, but it is kind of like one of the best DPS 4-star catalysts. I kind of wish I pulled for her signature weapon, but at the same time, I don't use Veressa like super frequently, so I'm not really missing out that much. Although her signature weapon is very cute. And then for her artifact set, I did end up putting her on the Long Night's Oath. I believe at first I had her on the Obsidian Codex, but I was able to farm a pretty decent set for her signature like plunging attack artifact set. I don't really feel the need to upgrade her artifacts too much. I feel like they're pretty good. She is C0, and then her talents are 8, 1, 7. So I feel like I'm okay with that just because I only use her on occasion, particularly when we need a plunging attack character or maybe an electro team. But I have a lot of electro characters overall, so she's not always like my number one go-to. I kind of try to rotate the characters around. But anyway, here are her overall stats. We've got a 75 to 192 crit ratio, and then ER is 138. I haven't felt like I have any big issues with her build, so overall I'm very satisfied with Veressa. Next up, I will talk about my Raiden Shogun. I've been kind of slowly trying to upgrade her build. I believe I've upgraded it a little bit since my last account tour video, so I'll just talk about it really quickly. So she is R1, and then her artifacts are the ones that I kind of upgraded. You know, I feel like I've been working on Raiden for like literally 2 years. Her build is just so hard to do because there are so many stats that you need to juggle. You need to have like so much ER, you need to have a really good crit ratio, you still need some attack, you might still need some EM depending on the team. So her build has been tough for me, but I am pretty surprised to know that my Raiden is actually top 10% on Akasha, which I didn't expect to reach, honestly, with how much and how long I've been struggling with her build. But I've actually been using my Raiden a lot in Stygian. I do have her C2, which gives her that extra like oomph in her combat, and then her talents are 4, 8, 10. I should probably crown her skill just because Raiden is one of my favorite characters after all. Like I said, I've been using her a lot in Stygian because I feel like the energy refund passive that she has is just like really useful in Stygian. I find myself clearing much better with my Raiden than my Veressa or my Clorand, although of course my Raiden is C2, so that is something to keep in mind. So here are her stats. I am much happier with it now than I used to be. I feel like her crit rate used to be like pretty low before, so I'm glad that I was able to make these upgrades. I still don't feel like her build is complete. I feel like I do want to upgrade it a little more, but at the same time I can also kind of rest easy a little knowing that her build is pretty decent right now. It's pretty good. Next up, we have Emily. I am super glad that I finally got Emily on her rerun because I think she is just so pretty, and I just need more characters of the Dendro element. I actually don't have Kaniche, so I don't really have Emily's like best in slot team. However, I've still been able to slot her in a lot with other pyro characters such as Mavwika, especially for the Natlan bosses where you need the elemental reactions like the papilla. She has been really useful in those cases. I do have her signature weapon, which I've had before I even got Emily. For her artifact set, I just have her on the typical unfinished Reverie, which is the burning artifact set. I don't think I've really upgraded this artifact set too much beyond my initial build. She is C0, and then her talents are 1, 8, 8, which I feel like I'll just leave it there for now. And then here are her overall stats, the crit ratio being 73 to 15 and her ER 141. Yeah, so I feel like my Emily has been pretty strong and really useful in a lot of different situations where I might just need those elemental procs, especially with the Natlan enemies. So I'm not really going to talk about Yelan's build just because I haven't upgraded it. However, I did get her skin, which I absolutely love. I think her hair and the outfit looks really great. Although I will say sometimes I do miss the pants of her original outfit, but I just love how her hair looks in this one. So I am leaving her on this one for the most part. And then next up we have Mavuika. I don't think I've upgraded her too much. However, I am trying to. I have her R2 and then I have her on the Obsidian Codex, and I am trying to upgrade some of these artifacts because I feel like her build, like I never really kind of went back to fix her build after I first got her on release, and I feel like some of her pieces do need some work. I feel like her stats are not as good as I want them to be for her C1 status. I did end up getting her C1 really early when I was trying to get Yeonsan constellations. I'm really happy about it because she does get that extra Night Soul as well as the extra attack bonus. And then her talents are 6, 9, and 10. I will probably crown her skill just because I do use her as an off-fielder very frequently as well, on top of using her as, you know, like her main DPS role. And then here are her overall stats. The crit rate is a little bit overcapped at 102 with the Obsidian Codex, but I do want to increase her crit damage some more. She does have a bit of wasted stats in the ER. Then her EM is 187, which I feel like is really solid. Yeah, I just need to kind of min-max her build just a little bit more crit damage would be appreciated, although I have been able to reach 1 million plus damage on Mavuika, which is like more than enough in a lot of situations. Next up, we have Chongyun, who was my very first sort of official main on my account when I started the game. I did end up building him very recently. I leveled him up to level 90. I gave him my second copy of Navia's signature weapon, Verdict, just because it looks so good on him. I know it's not technically like the best 5-star weapon for him. It's essentially just a stat stick for him, but it just looks so good on him. The gold and the blue is literally like the same, so I couldn't resist. And then he is on the Marechaussee Hunter, which I feel like the stats are pretty decent. However, they do need a little bit of work, and also him being on Marechaussee means I basically need to use him with Furina all the time, so I have been feeling a little bit like restricted in this build. I might potentially try to switch him over to more of a support build such as like Noblesse or something, just because I do use Chongyun as more of a supportive role, usually like cooldown support or something like that. So I feel like having a matching supportive artifact set will just probably be better for him as well as for my teams overall. And I only have his C5, which is a bit unfortunate. I really do want to get his C6, so hopefully I will get that someday soon. And then his talents are 6, 9, and 10. And then here are his overall stats on the current Marechaussee build. I did switch around his artifacts a little with my Furina, so some of his stats did get a little bit lower. And then I'll just give a quick shout out to Bennett and his new skin, which I really love. I haven't like upgraded his build at all, although I know that his build is lacking. Like his weapon is only level 80, which is kind of a crime given that he runs off of the base attack. His artifact set I also like barely farmed. He is C6, and yeah, just his talents aren't maxed out either. So it's kind of a shame. I should probably build my Bennett a little better considering I use him literally in every single team in the endgame modes. I will briefly touch upon Shilonen. I did ascend her to level 90, but I just didn't level her up all the way just to save some resources. This is not her weapon. She's usually on the Favonius sword. And then, I do have just a typical Cinder City artifact set. I did end up crowning her skill, mainly because, I do use her as a buffer in a lot of my teams, and Shilonen is probably my favorite Natlan character, so I just had to give her that. Here's her stats. It's nothing crazy, she has a lot of ER, and she has a lot of crit for the Favonius sword as well. She is on a support build, so I'm not really expecting any DPS out of her. I also don't really care to get like an insane amount of healing from her, so I feel like I'm okay with this build. And then I will also talk about Layla, who I recently built as well. She is level 80. I don't think I'll level her to 90 as of now, just because, you know, I'm not using her on any of my main teams. She is on a Favonius sword. I have 3 Favonius swords that I have leveled up. I have one at level 90 R5. I have another one at level 80 R5. And then the one that Layla is using is level 80 and only at R2, just because I believe I don't have any more copies, but hopefully I will be able to get a couple more Favonius sword copies eventually. And then her artifacts, she is on the Tenacity of the Millilith, which is a good support artifact for the DPSs that I might put Layla with. And she is C6, which is really good. And then her talents are 1, 10, and 9. Here are her overall stats. Again, I'm not using Layla very frequently, but I'm really glad to have built her because she does come very handy for the Imaginarium Theater or whenever I might just want to switch up my teams a little bit. I'll also talk about my Eon-san next. I don't think I really showed you guys her build ever. It's a pretty basic build. I don't think I did very much with it. So she is only level 80 and then she is on a Favonius Lance R5. And then her artifacts, of course, she is on the Cinder City artifact set, focusing on the attack substats. I haven't like really cared too much about min-maxing her build that much. She's only C4, which is crazy because I pulled on so many different banners for Eon-san. In the time that it took me to get C4 Eon-san, I got 1 Veressa, 1 Dia, 1 Mavwika, and 1 Emily. So yeah, the 4-star problem is real. Her talents are 1, 9, 8. I should probably level that up just a little bit, but I don't use Eon-san as much as I use Bennett, to be quite honest. However, I really do love her. I think she's just so cute. She's like one of the cutest characters in Natlan for me. Here are her overall stats. Her crit rate is a little bit low for the Favonius purposes, so maybe I will have to work on that sometime in the future. Next up, we have Auroron, and I built him on my very first ever live stream on YouTube. He is level 80. I wanted to build him just as an electrocharge support to be able to use with like Inefa. His weapon is not this one, but I will either use the Skyward Harp on him, which I do share with Official, or I might even give him the First Great Magic, which will be shared with Linny. Oh, I should probably change this up a bit here. And artifact set, of course, he's on the Cinder City. Pretty standard crit damage build here. And he is C6, which I got very recently on the Chaska rerun banner. And his talents are 1, 9, 9. Here are his overall stats. This is with the First Great Magic, which is Linny's signature bow. Next up, we have Dahlia. I did try to build Dahlia as a DPS character just for fun after seeing some like memes and stuff here and there about his DPS being like surprisingly good. I don't actually use him as a DPS anymore. I should probably switch him over to a support build, honestly. But for DPS purposes, he is on the it might have been the Mist Splitter. And then his artifacts are a 2-piece Noblesse for the burst damage bonus, as well as an attack 2-piece. These artifacts are like really lazy, just random ones that I just chucked onto him just for like testing purposes. He's C2 and then his talents are 1, 5, 7. I didn't level them up that much just because I wasn't going to use him seriously, so I didn't want to waste too much resources on him. These are his stats on the DPS build, which is 66 crit rate to 167 crit damage, which I know is not a very good DPS build, but again, I did a really lazy build on him, so nothing crazy to expect here. Although, like I said, I probably do want to switch him back over to a support build just because, you know, I feel like that'd be more useful in like Imaginarium Theater and stuff like that. Okay, so I think that is all of the characters that I've updated in the last 6 months, other than maybe like some minor artifact upgrades to like my furina and arlecchino. Maybe I'll talk about them really quickly just because they are 2 of my favorite characters. So for my arlecchino, she is, you know, level 90. She has her R1. Her artifact set is a bit where I'm a little sad. I have her on the Harmonic Whimsy, however, her pieces are not very good. She needs a lot of upgrades in my opinion to be at the power that I want her to be. However, I hate farming the harmonic whimsy domain, and I'm also just kind of been lazy and unlucky with the strong box. So yeah, like this pyro damage goblet is really sad, and this is after I used the sanctifying elixir twice on the pyro damage, and I think I even used the reroller, like the feather reroller thing, but it was not very good. Yeah, her crit circlet is like pretty good, but overall, I mean, oh, why did I take that off? Overall, I do wish that I was able to give Arlecchino a better build. Hopefully I will get around to that soon. My Arlecchino is C2, so of course she does have a little bit of extra power from the constellations that she's missing out from the artifacts. And then her talents are 10, 8, 8, and I do eventually want to triple crown her. Unfortunately, it is just so expensive. And here are her overall stats. Again, I want to increase her crit damage a little bit more. I feel like her crit rate can also use a little bit more percentage points there. Overall, her build is not bad by any means. It's just, I personally wish that it were a little bit better. Lastly, I will talk about my furina. My furina is in the top 1% on Akasha, not for her off-field Golden Troop build, but rather for her on-field Marechaussee C6 build. She has R1, and I am not planning on getting any more copies of her signature weapon. I am perfectly fine with just the R1. And here is her Marechaussee artifact set. Again, this is only really relevant for Furina on her C6. And I used to switch her around between the Golden Troop and the Marechaussee, but then I got kind of lazy and now I just leave her permanently on the Marechaussee. If we one day, hopefully, who knows, if we one day get the artifact loadouts, then I'll definitely be switching her between the Marechaussee and Golden Troop a lot more frequently. But for right now, I'm just lazy, so I leave her on the Marechaussee. And of course she is C6, which is probably one of the best investments I made for my account on Genshin. I just love her C6 so much. I don't regret it one bit, even though I did spend a pretty penny on it. She is triple crowned. She's the only character on my account that is triple crowned for now. And here are her overall stats. Her crit rate, of course, with the Marechaussee 36% bonus, she gets 92% crit rate. Her crit damage is 279. Her ER at 136 is like a tad bit too low for my liking. Sometimes I feel like I'm waiting like 2 or 3 seconds extra for her burst to come up, but it's fine. I've been able to do perfectly fine still. She is C6 after all. So those were my character build. Little update on my character build, especially for my newer units as well as units that I might have upgraded in the last couple of months. Next up, I'll just do a really quick overview of my exploration, just because I've done some exploration the last 6 months, although not a crazy amount. For my mod stat, I have these 2 regions at 100% and these other ones are at 90+%, which is good, but I do want to get it to 100%, but at the same time I'm not like forcing myself to do it or anything. I don't use an interactive map. I rarely ever use like YouTube guides or anything. I almost always use the treasure compass, so I feel like once you hit like 90%, it's hard to even use a treasure compass. My dragon spine, which I explored for the first time very recently, I have at 64%. I do hope to get this a little bit higher. And then for Liyue, I have it fairly high. I would say average is like 80%-ish. I do have the Sea of Clouds at only 70%, so maybe I need to work on this area a little bit more. My Chenyu Vale is also in need of some more exploration, only about like a 50-60% average here. I should probably get around to exploring this area a little bit more. And for my Sumeru, I feel like Sumeru is my least explored, not necessarily because I dislike it, but just it's so big. And I also kind of rushed through Sumeru because at the time when I was doing the Archon quest, I was trying to catch up to the Fontaine Archon quest, so I didn't really give myself a lot of time to explore Sumeru. I'd say it averages like 50-60% exploration rate for the mainland of Sumeru, and I forgot about the chasm. The overworld chasm is 58%, and then the underground chasm is 82%, so not too bad. And as for the Sumeru Desert, now this is where I'm a little embarrassed. It is not explored very much. Like, I don't even have some stuff unlocked like this, which is kind of embarrassing. It's like 20%, 30%, and up here literally 3%, 6%. I don't even have like teleport waypoints unlocked up here. And I'm not like a desert hater or anything, but like I said, I just never got around to exploring Sumeru that much, and I also never got around to doing a lot of the quests out here. Hopefully I can find some time to go back and do it. I don't know when I'll have the time, but it is on my mind. It is on my mind. Next up, we have Fontaine. I feel like my Fontaine exploration is just okay. I feel like Fontaine is like pretty big, especially the underwater areas that I was kind of struggling to explore it. Maybe like average is like 70% or so overall. This Below region is the only place where I have it at 90 plus. My Nostoi region is the only one that's at 100%. Sea of Bygone Eras, I have it at 53. So again, I need to do some exploring here, and I just realized that I forgot about Inazuma because it's so far away. My Inazuma is not super explored, maybe around 70% overall. Seirai Island and Watatsumi Island is only at 50-ish, 56%. I don't even have this unlocked. I don't even know what this is. Anyway, Surumi Island only 54%. So yeah, I'm not a really big fan of Inazuma puzzles, honestly, which is why I never really got around to exploring Inazuma that much. I have a lot of these like domains that are still locked simply because I haven't really done the puzzles. However, even though I don't like Inazuma exploration that much, I actually really like Enkanomiya, and it was one of my favorite regions and quests to explore. I have it at 93%. Hopefully I can get it to 100% someday soon. And next up, Natlan. So Natlan is definitely my most explored in terms of the regions, mainly because I feel like I really focused on exploring Natlan to get to that 80% exploration percentage, so that way I can get the Primogem rewards for all the new updates. I have the 6.0 regions at pretty high 90%. You know, the Children of Echoes and the People of the Springs is at 98%. I don't know if I'll be able to get it to 100 with just like natural exploration with the treasure compass. Hopefully I can. And then these sort of semi-newer regions are kind of in the 80 percentage points. Ochika Natlan is also 88%, and then the Easy Breeze Resort is at 87. I do want to come back here and explore this a little bit more just because it's super fun and chill over here. However, Ancient Sacred Mountain, I did reach 100%. So that is it for my exploration and my map. Again, I'm not like 100% completionist, but I really do enjoy exploring. So I am excited to keep on exploring my map as well as explore the new nod-krai regions coming up. I do want to talk about nod-krai and my future pulling plans as well. As for my nod-krai pulling plans, I am definitely going to get Lauma in the first banner in 6.0. I will probably want to get a couple of Aino constellations, so I'll probably give Flynn's banner a couple of 10 pulls in hopes of getting some Aino copies. Other than 6.0, some future characters that I want to get in nod-krai includes Nefer. I am definitely going to get Nefer. And then Durin, I will probably get C0R1 Durin, just because I feel like he's going to be very strong, just given his like lore importance as well. Hopefully he'll be really strong, and like maybe an upgrade to Bennett or some other like off-field pyro could be good. Columbina, of course, I am getting at least C0R1. I may or may not want to get more constellations, but we'll see depending on my savings at the time. Of course, I also want to get Nicole and Alice. Yeah, I want to get so many characters in nod-krai. It's kind of a problem. I don't know how I'll ever be able to save all these Primogems. I definitely need to get to exploring, that's for sure. And then Jehoda, I'm not really sure. If she's a 5-star, I'll probably only pull for her if I really like her kit, or if she's like a really good meta character for my account. If she's a 4-star, then of course I'll probably end up getting a copy or two of her from whatever other banner is active at the time. And lastly, of course, I am 100% gonna get Sandrone. I'll probably get her and her signature weapon as well. So the only characters that I will not be pulling in nod-krai, at least not for them specifically, is Flynn's and Varka. I know there's a lot of hype around them, but I just don't really pull for male characters. Well, let me know what you guys are looking forward to the most in nodkrai, whether that's new characters or the new lore or perhaps new exploration. Let me know down in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to my channel and like the video if you enjoyed this, and also make sure to join our Discord server if you haven't already. Everyone is really friendly and it's just a lot of fun there on the Discord. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time in nodkrai.